Good morning, my brothers and sisters. A people group entirely devoted to destruction. Stay with me. This is episode number 7 in the book of Deuteronomy. So what we're doing is we're watching a sovereign activity of the Lord in giving Israel a homeland, actually returning to their homeland. So they've been incubated in Egypt. You remember Joseph went down there as a slave because of his murderous 11 brothers. They went down to Egypt, but God providentially protected them and helped them during a 7-year famine. And then they grew sort of exponentially when they were in Israel. Eventually they became enslaved. They were there for 430 years, and then they got freed with this exodus, and they were brought to the promised land in a couple of weeks. Well, they rebelled, and they did this 40-year penalty lap for their failure to follow the Lord into the promised land. So today's story is now they're almost at the promised land a second time, and they're trying to get to that place. So they can knock on the door of the promised land. So here it is. This is from Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 26. So I sent messengers from the wilderness of Kedemoth to Sihon, the king of Heshbon, with words of peace, saying, "Let me pass through your land. I will only go by the road. I will neither turn to the right or to the left. You shall sell me food for money, I'll buy it, that I may eat, and give me water for money, that I may drink. Again, I'll buy it. And just let me pass through on foot. Just like I did with the sons of Esau, and who live in Seir, and the Moabites who live in Ar." We talked about that yesterday. "Until I go over the Jordan," so they're on the wrong side of the Jordan, "until I go over the Jordan into the promised land that the Lord our God is giving us." And then here's the conflict for today, verse 30. "But Sihon, the king of Heshbon, would not let us pass by him. For the Lord your God hardened his spirit and made his heart obstinate, that he might give him into your hand as he is this day. And the Lord said to me, Behold, I have begun to give Sihon and his land over to you. Begin to take possession, that you may occupy this land. Then Sihon came out to us, he and all his people, to the battle at Jahaz. And the Lord our God gave him over to us, and we defeated him and his sons and all his people. And we captured all his cities at the time, and devoted to destruction every city, man, woman, child. We left no survivors. Only the livestock we took as spoil for ourselves, with the plunder of the cities that we captured. From Ar, which is on the edge of the valley of Arnon, and from the city that is in the valley as far as Gilead. There was not a city too high for us. The Lord our God gave all into our hands. Only into the land of the sons of Ammon did you not draw near, that is, to all the banks of the river Jabbok and the cities of the hill country, wherever the Lord our God had forbidden us." So we're watching this sovereign Lord. He's told the people of Israel, rise up, set out, go over to Sihon and his land, and begin to take possession. Contend with him in battle. This is the land that the Lord your God is giving you. And this is the king that the Lord your God is giving you. And this is the battle that the Lord has devoted to destruction. There's going to be no survivors. There's not going to be a city whose walls are too high, not for you, but for me, because I'm fighting for you. So the Lord gives all that he wishes into our hands. So the Lord has made a people, kind of down in Egypt, actually, and now he's giving that people a place. Now, why is that? Well, from this process, don't forget that a Savior's coming, and a people, and from this people comes that Savior. And also, this Jesus is going to need a specific place. The people of God are going to need a place of the people of God. And that's going to be Israel and Jerusalem, their capital city. Just think about Jerusalem. He has to make a special place of sacrifice. It will have to become the centerpiece of the Passover, because then Jesus is going to fulfill that. So there's a big picture happening here as well. In the meantime, you're seeing specific people groups devoted to destruction. There's a Hebrew word for it, harim. The king and all the Amorite people of Heshbon, they're set apart for extermination, to be utterly dedicated to utter destruction and annihilated. So you cannot understand, write this down, you cannot understand the wrath without understanding the kindness. These people got exactly what was just. These people deserved the penalty that was imposed upon them. And we're kind of surprised by that. But why is that? Well, because they got it right immediately. And we're surprised when people actually receive what they merited. But when God forbears this other group of people and God delays punishment, why aren't we surprised at that? So shouldn't we be at least as surprised that God does not immediately judge and does not immediately punish and does not immediately open up the can of wrath for some groups of people, like us sitting here today. So this word, Hebrew word, it means to devote to destruction. Well, why is that? That is to prevent the further use by humans. So they don't want to compromise their culture or their worship. They don't want to get into wrong idolatry. So because God is making a set-apart holy people, shouldn't it make sense that some other groups are set aside? So some are set apart and some are set aside. To what end? Well, here's the thing. So that all people would eventually have the opportunity to become a person of God, no matter what your label. So branches are broken off. All have sinned. Branches are grafted in. Don't be proud. This is the kindness of God. So Romans chapter 9 talks extensively about this. So these branches are broken off in a sense so that someday they can be put back together and become the big people of God. So is God severe to those of unbelief? Yes, he is. Doesn't that just emphasize that we need a Savior? And does that severity occasionally mean the immediate destruction to evil? Yes, it does. So here, King Sion and his people that follow him, yes, and they justly got it. So is sometimes God severe to those of unbelief? Yes, justly so. Is God sometimes kind to those of belief? Yes, mercifully so. So don't let God's severity surprise you any more than God's kindness, or at least let's be equally surprised at God's wrath, which we see here today, and God's kindness. So I know why God is wrathful sometimes, but sometimes I forget. It surprises me that he's kind. So sometimes the Lord's sovereignty is achieved by human action, as the people that go to battle here find out, and in this case, the action is devoting a certain people rightly to destruction. So let's not be surprised as some justly receive the severity of destruction. Let us be a little surprised by his kindness to those who believe. So the charge, believe today, receive his kindness today while it is still today. Thanks for listening.